Hello, everyone. This is our weekly quick show that is live, and we talk about everything that has anything to do with search engine optimization as well as AI visibility optimization, however you want to call it. Google claims it's still SEO. This is something we're going to talk about today, but there are also GEO and AEO acronyms that are floating around, and we will cover all of those. Today is a big topic that we cannot ignore. Everyone in the industry is discussing it, so let's clear things up. First of all, last week, I think it was Friday, they like doing stuff right before the weekends or over the holidays. Google has published their official AI visibility optimization guidelines. And I said that wrong. I think they phrased it AI search visibility, which is a huge difference. And I think that we still need to discuss this topic one of these weeks because there is a huge difference between AI search and AI visibility. AI search is just one step in the process. AI visibility is much more than just searching. And that's why today we are discussing AI search visibility, which is what Google is now talking about in its official guidelines. So what those guidelines are telling us, this is only about AI mode and AI overviews, so search features of Google. And this is about LLMs searching and discovering your content. Pretty much nothing new there from what we've known so far. Google insists that its best practices apply here as well. That is, create great content, take the people first approach. So no machine optimization tactics should be prioritized. You should think about your users and your customers first. You should create content that they will find useful. You should not get artificial links or brand mentions. And all of that is nothing new and never expected anything less from Google. It's a huge guide without really telling us anything that we didn't know already. There are a few things there that were useful, by the way, for the industry, not so much for businesses, unfortunately, but for the industry. Google is busting some of the myths in that guide. First of all, you do not need any special treatment for AI searching for your website. That is, you do not need LLM's text file, or special markdown pages that would make browsing your web pages easier for AI agents. Next, you don't have to do any specific special chunking of your content to optimize it for LLMs because they are just like people. They read content and they can understand it just as any human being could. And that is right for your readers and for your customers, not for AI bots. There are quite a few other things there about JavaScript. There is Google can render JavaScript just fine, so just make sure yours is SEO friendly. On that note, a Search Console gives you a great tool that you can use to figure out if your JavaScript can be rendered by Google. That is called URL inspection. Use it every time you are in doubt if your JavaScript is Google friendly. But again, these guidelines are just for Google and its bots. We already knew pretty much everything about that. The question is how different the JavaScript treatment is for other LLM crawlers. That could be ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity. Can they figure out your JavaScript as easily as Google? Google is much more advanced in that respect. I mean, probably in every respect at this point, because it's been in the industry for a while, giving people what they want from search results. So there are a few confirmations about findability in AI from Google that we all needed. Schema as well was one of the points. You don't have to have schema for AI visibility, but it does help for SEO because it generates rich snippets. Interestingly enough, those guidelines only told us about the one benefit of schema, that is rich snippets. And this is when you search for products and you can see the price, the review rating, the availability right in the search results. Those are called rich snippets. They stand out. They get clicked more, obviously, because they are more detailed and more useful. And that is what schema is used to generate. Other guidelines from Google mention other benefits of schema, that is making your page and your site and your business more clearer for Google. And that is all the speculation that schema is also helpful for clarity for LLMs is coming from. These guidelines seem to confirm schema is only used for rich snippets. Again, as one of the SEO that has been around for more than 20 years. By the way, I forgot I didn't make any introductions, which I will right now. So as someone who has been an SEO for quite a while, my philosophy here is, what if it's not hurtful? If there is a small chance it could help, go ahead and use your schema, guys. I don't have any objections to that. It's definitely not anything, it doesn't do anything magic to your visibility, but if it can help a little bit, just go ahead and use it. So those guidelines are about Google and search, and only about search. That is why I feel like it is very obviously called SEO guidelines. There are many more levels to AI visibility than search, like I said before, including whether you are in the training data, including how you are positioned in the training data. LLMs search based on what they already know. So you will see a lot of times they will search for brand names, for product names. And that is why being in the training data is fundamental. But these guidelines are not covering that. I will make a quick pause to introduce myself. I am Ann Smarty. I have been an SEO for quite a while. Now I'm the co-founder of Smarty.marketing. Today with me and always April, our director of social. She will be asking her questions as well as bringing up your questions if you have any. Now back to the fun part of all of that. So last week, Eddie, by the way, thank you for joining. And I do have your email that I need to reply to. I didn't forget. Just a quick, just a quick note there. So so those AI SEO guidelines were published last week. This week, Google had a development conference, which is a different department of Google. And guess what? On those guidelines, they are announcing new Google Chrome that is going to be better optimized for AI agents that come to our websites to complete some tasks. And that conference, LLM's text is going to be supported by the browser. And also, another thing that the industry noticed is that those SEO guidelines that were published on Friday do have a markdown version that is optimized for LLMs. So when it's almost like the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing at this point. So what is happening is that Google is announcing something that their developers don't know and still implement. So that's why they're still going to support LLM text files, not for findability so much, but for actions. So when the future, and I think it's almost the present at this point, is that LLM agents will be coming to our websites to perform some kinds of actions. For example, buy something, or pull your API, or connect to your website or business in any other way. For those actions to explain how everything works, LLM's text file is likely going to be supported and used. So our industry is very much fun, to be sure. It's not just all of us are a little confused. It looks like Googlers are also confused as well, which is so much fun to watch. So they announced that LLM's text files are not required on Friday, and the Markdown files are also not required. All of that happens on Friday. On Monday, they announced LLM's text integration in Google Chrome, as well as serving their own guidelines that claim Markdown pages are not required in Markdown. So it's so much fun. But let's focus a little bit on one quick thing that Google did announce, a new terminology for SEOs and content marketers. That is called non-commodity. I will never be able to pronounce that, right? Pages, content. So so that I don't have to pronounce that many times, just remember that. I hope April will be able to do that better than I did. But anyways,
that sounds right to me.
how do you pronounce that?
Commodity.
Commodity. Okay.
You said it right the first time. You said it.
So we need more non-commodity content for our brands to rank well, to appear in AI reviews and AI mode, and get clicks. Let's talk quickly about what it is. Absolutely not the first time we've heard Google talking about that. They tried to find the right term for a while to direct our content and SEO strategies. They tried helpful content, they tried hidden gems at some point. Now it's non-commodity content. In simple words, what is it? It is something that cannot be easily recycled. If you have your how-to guides, your listicles, everything else can be summarized, and it's probably already in the training data. The joke that travels around the industry is that Google has had enough of commodity content to train their LLMs, so now they need more, which is funny until it is sad, to be honest. But that is not the new concept for sure. It comes back to be unique. What makes you unique? Unique is your experience, it's your uniqueness. Expertise is not as unique as experience. This is what Google is telling us. Expertise is something LLMs now have. They have very good expertise on many levels and many industries at this point, to a point then that they can give confident answers to even very professional prompts. So expertise is not as much, doesn't make you as much unique. Your experience is something that LLMs that do not have, and they will never have it because they actually do not do stuff, they only retell it. So focusing on your experience is the key here, and experience is also a very old concept in our industry at this point. About 5 years ago, extra E was added to EEAT guidelines that are given to Google's human raters, so that they do not only evaluate the expertise of content, but also find and evaluate first-hand experience of every piece of the content that is ranking in Google. So we've known for a while that Google is looking for something really unique. Interesting point here is that much of that unique experience can still be repackaged, can still be recycled and become the training data at some point. So you really need to look at not just sharing your experience, but also becoming the source. And that is also a very old concept in SEO. That is the ultimate goal of any link building campaign or PR campaign, is becoming the source of the data, of trends, of something new, of sharing your customers' insights and their experience. So all of that is making you really non-commodity, and it's not as easy to forget about you through the summarization, AI summarization answers, when you are the source. And that is exactly, by the way, what we are doing with our digital PR service, is exactly putting you at the top of all the conversations on Reddit or everywhere else through journalistic outreach. We want create something as unique for your brand, so that it makes you the top of the voice for that conversation. I think this is the real goal, should be the real goal of the non-commodity content. It is becoming the source and the hub of the conversation. That is so that your brand name is not as easily forgotten when that data becomes training data. Do we need other types of content? This is a big question. Of course, our industry is like that. If Google tells you to focus on something, everything else we announce dead and not needed anymore. In my humble opinion, you do need all types of commodity content on your website as well. It's not just focus on reinventing the bicycle wheel, whatever is the saying, every time for every article. You do need what your to answer what your target audience is asking. And that is including keyword research, including detailed FAQs, detailed instructions, detailed how-to guides, talking problem solving solution types of content. All of that, guys, is still required. It's only the value of that content is no longer measurable through traffic, because obviously some of that and most of that is going to lose traffic and already probably lost some clicks because they become AI answers. But we need on our website to have everything that is helpful for the target audience, and they, in many cases, will prefer a how-to guide to a huge research study or a case study on the topic. Giving them that information is making you findable as well in any other way. They will come to you and they will help, they get help and they will become your customers. This hasn't changed. Or if they have an answer, it's much more preferable that they find it on your website rather than go ask those questions elsewhere. So I do believe that we do not need to just focus on non-commodity content at this point or ever, because we need to serve our customers. If our customers have questions, we need to address them on our website, even if that's just content and it is not something unusually unique or absolutely original, but it's helpful to your customers. And that is, I guess, the only metric that should matter at this point. So we do need both, but obviously non-commodity content is not exactly new. The terminology is definitely new. I think first one was Danny Sullivan, who was talking about this type of content a few weeks ago at a different Google event. Now it's officially part of SEO, AI SEO guidelines from Google. So this term is here to stay. I don't think it's a terrible term. I think Danny actually came up with it because he's very good at doing it's much better than helpful, let's say like that. It's much better understood. It's much more straightforward. We know what it means. So it is a very good concept to always keep in mind and always implement on a consistent basis. It's not like you publish one piece of non-commodity content and here you go, you have all the search signals and rankings that you could have come up with. No, it's the consistent strategy of coming up with something truly original and truly interesting in your industry that helps drive brand mentions, backlinks, buying decisions, help people actually understand what they need and why. All of that should be consistently part of your SEO strategy at this point, if not yesterday. We've been talking about this type of content for a while, just we didn't have the term, and now we do. So it is a very good idea, and it is something that you will not get away without, because it is something that will help you remain visible in organic search as well as get cited and get mentioned in AI overviews and AI mode for sure, because you the only way to get noticed at this point is to become the top of some conversation, of the voice. Even if it's very niche, very specific, you need to become the source of that data and conversation. With that, we have a few minutes to address some of the questions. I know April had some, and maybe there are a few from the audience as well. So go ahead and ask them.
You got something from Eddie?
Whether older people will appreciate the new Google search or get confused. I'm thinking of my mom who only knows Google and never goes directly to a website. Um, I would not exactly know. As an old person myself, to be honest, I've been searching Google for as long as I can remember, and there is no really replacement for me. I search it to find my own old articles because how else do I find them? I search Google as a calculator when I need to know what the math behind something is. I use Google for weather. It is the destination for me in many use cases, but I also enjoy clicking links and finding more behind some of the questions that I had. So it's definitely a learning curve for me. I know young people do not search as much, and it's probably much harder for old people who just know their ways to do anything. And those new features may or may not help them. I'm sure Google have all those feedback tools to collect data from actual users. And for some reason, they're sticking with AI overviews, even though they've been criticized around the world for their inaccuracy, for their um, bad research on the topics, and they're still there. So I guess Google find them useful for the average user, which your mom and myself probably are not at this point.
I don't know. I still use Google too because I don't trust AI's answers, so I have to like make sure double check everything myself. I know.
Exactly. And it's usually the first thing that I turn to as well. It's not like I usually chat GPT or Gemini for tasks sometimes, summarize this or find ideas for that, or what be the target audience of that. When I'm confused, it does help me. It gives me direction. I would never say it gives me the final answer for sure, but sometimes it gives a great direction. It's a productivity tool for
Mhm.
me, not a search tool for sure. But and we also did our own survey of the United States citizens, residents, to find if they're using ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity or any other LLM for product discovery, for researching what they need to buy. And no, very small percentage of our nation is still using ChatGPT for that use case. Not that they are not using it at all, they're using it for other purposes, to ask for advice or to just talk or do some little bit of conversation when you're lonely. Those use cases make sense because we are all very lonely people for sure. But for research and to buy, to find products to buy, ChatGPT is not used at all at this point yet, maybe, but it is not. So we will see. We will see how it all develops.
So my question is, so how can you create non-commodity content if you're like an SEO contractor or like a contractor content creator for like a client if you don't have as much access to like their products and experience?
But definitely how we are rolling, it's case by case. In most cases, you can create something very original and very unique based on public data, for sure. Especially if you overlay it with something that the client knows about the niche or there another data set. It's all about how creative you get and how good you research and brainstorm, for sure. In many cases, we meet with clients and figure out the ways to data that we don't have or don't have access to. That is an option too. Or the third way is to do original surveys that are as good for that, but you create the data yourself by surveying people on the questions that you want to create research on. So there are quite a few things. It's not, and one of the biggest misconceptions is that this method is just for the biggest brands. I wouldn't say that because we are small business ourselves and we are able to create those research studies manually. Sometimes that's reaching out to 100 of your followers on social media and ask to complete a survey, and then you have the data. Sometimes it's investing in data, sometimes it's collecting it through paid channels. It's not that we invest millions of dollars into that, but we are still able to do that. So I would say every business of any size can do something interesting like that and become even local news, for example. Even surveying your actual customers, if you like a local business, is also a great way to even engage them and then update them with the data on what you came up with. So it has a lot of opportunities that you don't need to shy away from. It's doable, guys. Being very unique is doable. It's just not something we've been trained to do for years in SEO, when the whole SEO is always about scaling, doing more, automating something, publishing content on a quick, like semi-automated way. So that's always the whole our whole industry is very aligned to scaling whatever can be scaled. But the best things in marketing are not scaled, and that is, I guess, the point of Google, is that it's okay that you are trying to be productive about stuff, but it's not working anymore because LLMs are already doing that better than you. They can create content on the fly and they don't need you for that anymore. So to be visible, you need to stand out. Even if it's standing out in this very small niche, you still need to do that. And there are always ways to do that. By the way, if you want to brainstorm with us, there is a free option to give me a call at to schedule a call at smarty.marketing. You can schedule 15-minute brainstorming session with me and say, okay, I'm a small business, I don't know, I sell this, how do I do it? And I will be able to help you if I can. And I will not try to sell anything, trust me. Those are not sales calls. I just enjoy those conversations and helping people a lot. Also, please subscribe ansmarty.com, which is where my newsletter lives. This is where I announce topics like this every week. To be honest, I was going to cover a different topic today, but Google was always full of surprise. So we are talking about Google's guidelines and their new concepts today. Next week, I hope there will be no big news for me to be able to talk about how AI answers are created, because it is very widely misunderstood thing. We are optimizing for something we don't have any insight into. We don't know how which part we can influence and which part we should have a long-term strategy for. All of that, I hope we will be able to discuss next week. So subscribe answrari.com. This is where I send the link to join and also give more insight, more screenshots, more tools. My newsletters tend to be very, very actionable, so that you just not just know what's happening, but also you would know what to do about that. Thank you so much, Eddie. Thank you so much. Yeah, we had a few calls with him, and I still remember about that email that I didn't reply to. I promise. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for uh, asking your questions. Please subscribe ansmarty.com and have a great week, everyone. Reach out if you have any questions. Thank you so much. Bye.